This is the mentoring to research collaboration with ACCEL and working on. So hopefully when you intended to be in, what we want to talk about today, it'll be highly interactive, is really thinking about how multidisciplinary groups that involve researchers, basic translational, interventional researchers, working with community partners and advocacy groups, and how that kind of large network of experts can be used well or not well to mentor each other and mentor junior people that we're trying to get to work on the project so we all hold near and dear to our hearts. So for example, I work with a big cerebral palsy population and neurodevelopmental movement disorder. So I work with patient families and advocacy groups. There's the TP Academy that we work with, and with basic scientists, data scientists, translational people, people that are trying to implement all in one big team. And it's complicated to figure out even what we're each talking about when we start thinking about mentorship, mentoring each other, and mentoring junior people. So what we're going to do, I'll do a quick sort of level set for some of the ways that academics think about mentorship. We'll look at one case study just to talk about, well, what is going on with these interactions with this junior person. And then Dr. Smith, who's my partner in crime in this, will lead you guys through a specific exercise. Feel good with that? Yeah. Okay. So when in academic circles, when we talk about mentorship, there's really multiple different categories. In fact, I don't like the term mentorship because it means so many different things to so many different people. So there's the traditional mentor, and this is from a publication from the Journal of the American Medical Association, their internal medicine sub-publication, just a few years ago. But there's a traditional mentor, and you can think that's somebody who helps guide you. Junior, if you're the junior person, I'm looking for a mentor to help guide me. There's a coach who improves you. So there's a specific thing you need to learn, and you need to improve to do that. There's a sponsor, and actually sponsorship is one of the main things in academic departments that a mentor does, which is nominate you and talking about you with senior people and getting you on committees that make sense for you, making sure you get connected and nominating you for things to advance your career. And then this is the term they use in the paper, but there's also the connector, someone who empowers you to move ahead on your. So all of those things roll up to this general concept of mentorship. I'm going to sign. My co-director of the program. I am happy to share the slides. Oh, I see. Well, all right, so with all of these sort of ideas in mind, and think about how we work with your people in your sort of segment of what you work on and how these different things happen to that person. And I really like this definition, which is from the National Academies, and you'll see why in a second, because mentorship with them is an alliance. So this individuals working together over a period of time. So we have some programs in my group that my friend calls hit and run mentoring. You just come in, you sit with somebody for 30 minutes, and try to help them, and then you move on. Really, mentorship is much longer term. In fact, I had mentors from when I was in graduate school many, many years ago that I still connect with them. But you work over time to support personal and professional growth, development, and success. And this, I didn't highlight this, but this is key for me, of the relational partners through provision of career and psychosocial. So I get as much mentoring in this definition from the junior people as they get from me. So if you think about kind of what mentorship looks like in your domains and what you're working on, and add in this idea, well, this is a multi-directional support network. That's what we kind of want to talk about. And how do you really do that in the context of high impact community engaged research? There's models. These are all published models, and I'm happy to share the nerdy parts of this. But people, old people think about for mentoring is you had a mentor. In fact, when I was coming up through rank, you kind of got thrown in the deep end of the pool, and if somebody rescued you, that was the mentor, and you just kind of made your way through. There's also triad, so that's the dyad. That's typically what people think of as a mentor-mentee interaction. That's largely what's published on in literature of dyad. Triads are even more common. A few years ago, it's not even triads, it's usually 4 people. So physicians tend to have research physicians, and that just has to do with how they're interacting with each other. There's this idea of collective groups. So you've got multiple mentors kind of co-mentoring them. That's typically and often for much more junior, you're just trying to get them all up at the same time. I think what we're moving forward with ACCEL, and what I hope we'll talk about is this idea of net. Right? So the mentees at the middle, there's all kinds of support around mentees. Good question. Mentee at the center, but there's this node. These nodes are like different people in there. There's resources and additional people that get connected. All with the idea of supporting the mentee. And just think of how complicated that is if you have researchers that don't engage with the community yet, and they're just trying to figure out how to navigate through the whole process. So I heard this one. This is GROW. This letters stand for multiple different things, but a focus on, so what's the goal for the individual? What's the reality of where they are? So again, we'll do a case study in a second. So the reality of where the person is and where each of the components of that network are located is critical to kind of thinking about how mentorship would work. You identify the options or obstacles, and then this will or this way forward is a typical sort of trajectory or typical framework for people to understand mentorship. The goal, right? A goal for a community member, an advocate, a company that's trying to get a vaccine uptake, the national foundation that supports all the research and the primary researchers, those don't always align. So that first G for complex groups, there's often a lot of discussion that has to happen early on. What exactly are we trying to do to help this team and help this individual progress? The matrix model, this is a way to understand networks. This model is used a lot in CTR and in some of the co-breeds. And that's having this person, yourself, you're the mentee. In the center, you have a senior guide, you have someone to help with science, you have staff people, which I cannot overemphasize, that have people that actually know how to do the work on your team. And then peer mentorship, which we can talk about at that out of the discussion. Previous mentorship models, and I'm not trying to teach you all of these models. There's just lots of ways to think about how mentorship should work in these situations. So this pod model, which is peer on-site distance, that's an individual has 3 people, one which in some total work spouse, in some of the that we do an on-site senior person knows how to navigate where you are and what's going on, and then an expert who can be as far away as needed, but a scientific or content expert. So that this paper that I'm citing here had to do with the URM, or underrepresented minority faculty, and how this model can be used to support underrepresented, especially in institutions where there weren't enough that they could resonate with, and that could actually help mentor them through the process. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to think about it. You guys probably all have mentees and mentors that you're thinking about right now. What I like to do is take, and I'm sorry, I printed up the little slides, there's some scattered around. I left the tapes and the questions on the center. So we're just going to imagine that I gave you. This case is from some validated training by the Center for Improved Mentoring Experience Research at CIMR. They're located up in Madison, Wisconsin. And they have been leaders in the field of trying to understand what's effective mentorship mean for different kinds of students and faculty. So here's the case. I'll read it. You can read it on the handout that I left on the printer, or you can read it on the screen right here. But I just want you to think about this in sort of the context of these networks and sort of how you would support someone. So Dr. Richard Smith started his mentored research with your approach, this is say me, after completing his MD PhD. His professional goals include performing community-based translational research as an independent investigator. Dr. Smith has been working with you for a year on a project with a community partner in a nearby city, and you recently encouraged him to meet with her to assess progress on a specific aim for a jointly funded project. This all sounds fine. It all sounds typical for interactions. The community partner gets in touch soon after this meeting, shares her concern about how Dr. Smith acted during the meeting, including sharing comments that reflected certain insensitivities. And probing further, you discover that this interaction has led to a breach of trust that you will have to try to remedy. When you raise the issue with Dr. Smith, you discover he does not seem to understand why his comments and actions were problematic. You're shocked to be in a situation when mentoring someone with Dr. Smith's education and experience, you wonder if you missed other indicators of Dr. Smith's, this is me thinking this, lack of understanding and sensitivity and how to approach these situations. Moreover, you are not sure how to proceed to assess Dr. Smith's current understanding and abilities in order to identify gaps. All right, does everybody have that idea? I can go right to questions. Anybody, does anything jump out from this description? And these are written to elicit sort of different thoughts and feelings and sort of read into what it says within the description. Does anybody have any immediate thoughts? Yeah.
I think my main thought is kind of exactly as written. Like, I would also be unsure how to proceed and wonder if I missed any indicators and like what was that actual interaction, what took place, and yeah, how are the both parties perceived experience of that interaction so different from each other?
Yeah, right. One interaction, completely different perception of what happened.
I think the use of the word shocked, you know, that as a mentor, the mentor is shocked about this behavior. It kind of, to me, it garnishes maybe not the mentor not having a finger on the pulse of the situation, and maybe letting some things go by that we just sort of passé.
That's very insightful comment. So I've used this in other like courses and things, and it takes a little while to get to that idea. So is there another comment?
Yes. I'm surprised that this person had Dr. Smith go down after a year, had them go down independently without either, you know, their leadership there or just some other person to go with them. So, not to say that that would have completely prevented the situation, but I'm just surprised that Dr. Smith went down on his own so early on.
Another excellent like observation from like this scenario. And both of those things go to sort of this question, well, where's the problem here? Like the goal is to mentor this person to do this kind of research and to be involved in communities, to be able to execute these projects. So where is the actual problem coming up? So I'm just going to take a couple of these questions, and these things are kind of built so you can delve in deeper and deeper and just try to figure out what could be happening here. So the main themes we sort of talked about, but this idea that Dr. Smith did not understand something. So the mentor and the partner's perspective that the junior person isn't getting it. What might have Dr. Smith not understood? And the information we have is insensitive and didn't realize afterwards why that was a problem. So what might have Dr. Smith misunderstood? And what about the mentor and the community partner? What might they be missing in this interaction and this kind of sort of rush to judgment that this is the fault of the junior person? So what might have Dr. Smith not understood? If you want to go back.
Might not have understood the importance of exploring bias. Like, is that the unconscious bias or other sorts of bias that he could have, or either one of them, actually.
Yeah, either one of them, right? Exactly. So Dr. Smith might not have understood something. That implies that he was told something he didn't get it. And so a counterbalance to that idea is nobody ever bothered to talk to him about this. So there's this notion, especially among quantitative researchers, this is a weird word to use, but they're very clinical about the description of what's going on with the project. and they don't think about how the terminology or the structure, or the design, or even the results land. It just sort of is what it is. So Dr. Smith might not have misunderstood anything. He might have just not been informed about how these interactions have to work and how important it is for the research, right? So my model for Dr. Smith is totally focused on the research and the analytics and just not thinking about where they came from, or where the question came from, or the fact that there's a much larger group that's invested in how this is done. So the reason he didn't understand why this was a problem is that I just talked about the results. Like there was nothing, there's no intent on his part or anything. But that's a problem. And back to the multiple comments, that's a problem for the mentoring group, right? So the fact that after a year he was turned loose by himself, the fact that perhaps Dr. Smith wasn't taught how to interact or what the fundamental interactions are about that are driving the research, that's a problem from the mentor side. And one of the things that the community, so what are some things that the community person could have done? What are some things that they might have missed, the community partner?
Educate.
So the goal for the junior person is to educate and help them understand how to do this. So if their reaction is to let the person go, which is sort of built into the scenario because Dr. Smith is surprised to hear this. So the community partner didn't say, hey, I find that offensive, or anything along this whole spectrum of trying to help that situation, help Dr. Smith understand what's going on. So there are other questions to think about. I don't know how you want to stage your part, but we could talk about this for a long time and dig down into what. I have 4 minutes. Okay, so what could we have done?
Sorry, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
So you're saying that I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. You're saying that you think there was an opportunity for the community partner to like kind of directly address the perceived insensitivity of Dr. Smith.
I think so.
Directly.
If it were me setting it up, so if you're the community partner and I'm the university, actually joined my program, you would have been involved in recruiting him. You would have been involved with
Oh, wait, the community partner?
the community partner.
Yeah.
The community partner, the one that is working with who
Yeah.
Dr. Smith is talking to, would have been involved in the whole design. Do we want a junior person on this project even? And if we bring a junior person on, what does that mean in terms of investment? So I think there were opportunities, usually in my mind, these are all missed opportunities and things are just hard to fix.
Yeah.
Happen. You wait for things to sort of break. But that there was an opportunity early on to set things up for success with the junior person and the project. So if I had included you as the community partner from the beginning, and we're interviewing this person who's joining, and it's all about, that we could have avoided the situation. And then the community person would have felt comfortable thinking, oh, like this poor kid doesn't know how to do this.
Right, but I think it's important to clarify that it's not really the onus on the community partner. The onus is maybe on the mentor to better facilitate that relationship, right?
Okay. But that relationship should have been defined and set up well before this person shows up by themselves without listening to that.
There's a lot of unknowns with this particular case subject. I mean, we haven't even been talking about like goals and expectations of the mentee. Was there a plan in place to have this person kind of go through the motions of meeting the community partner, meeting, the expectations. These are all the things that you're going to gain, and in return, this is what you're going to give the community. Like there's no explanation of how much do you understand of the community you're serving, how much jargon are you using? I mean, there's so many things here that are part of a goal-oriented plan that we haven't seen.
We haven't seen, and you can read in, and what people tend to do in groups, for like more longer discussion, you just map what your experience is on top of this sort of scenario, and then you can really talk about it and dig down deeper into next time. But when we do this, what should we all be thinking about? What should we bring up? How should the mentor, right, include everybody who's on the team? members of the community who ever going to include them in understanding that we do have junior people coming in, you know, not really apologizing in advance, because you should be trying to help them understand, but they're trying to understand. And as an academic investigator, one of my goals is to pull these people up to a point where they're ready to do this kind of research on their own. All right, well, thank you. So that was my part, just getting people to think about how groups working in these multidisciplinary community engaged research studies can work together. And we didn't even get to the point of mentoring each other, helping each other understand, right, what's going on between, say, the community member and the mentor, as opposed to sort of this rush, which to me feels like this was a rush to judgment. Now we're going to get rid of this poor person who's just trying to learn. But we think about that. It is complicated. I think there are ways forward. The big thing is to think about a framework that you can work in and identify, well, what do we need to make sure we account for, and then do your best along the way. So Dr. Smith's now going to take over. You don't have any slides.
No, that's fine. So for this one, you can pair up at least, 2, 3, 4, because I have different worksheets, because we're gonna walk through one together, just so you kind of see how these worksheets work. And then there's going to be an open one. So within your group, you can then talk about challenges and how you can potentially solve it.
Can I get a worksheet?
So, like, we need to have parents. I didn't have, like, we set this up as a group activity. So, but if you can get in groups of at least 2, if you have 3, 4, that's fine.
Sorry, here.
Okay.
Okay.
You might want to do another. I'm gonna go check on.
Yes.
Or if you want to kind of.
Yeah, I think-
Just the direction.
That
Wait,
way,
today, so
have
maybe
one that has the red on
Okay,
it.
good. But
Everyone in the group, do you have red on one of your worksheets that have red on it?
I
Just
gave,
so you
I
can
got
follow
an
that.
extra copy.
And then everyone should have a blank one too.
Oh.
You have a blank one?
Yeah, I have the
Right,
right.
so everyone has that?
Every group, right? Not every person.
All right, thank you. Claire.
To Jamie?
I'm really sorry. I know there's like 5,000 pensions out there. Yeah.
And this is being recorded, by the way. Yeah, they said for 6 hours, it's been recorded. So if you come in here to work.
Can't say that.
yeah,
Can't say it.
Right.
Yes.
So this worksheet, anyone who works with me knows I love a good worksheet because it keeps everyone in lockstep together and it provides structure, but yet flexibility within it to show your creativity and what your thought processes around it. So this is called an abstraction lab. And so anytime you have you're like, oh, this is such a problem, this is such a challenge, how do I figure this out? And when you can pull different teams together, you can work through it in a structured way, but a lot of flexibility, a lot of creativity. So when Rob and I were talking about this program and what we would do here, we talked a lot about communication because, depending on the space you work in, you may have a different vocabulary from somebody else. And, when you're trying to work across different groups, different communities, how do you talk to one another? And that can be a real challenge because you might be like, of course I'm making sense. That this is my common language. Someone's like, what the heck is she talking about? You don't know. And so for this one that I'm going to walk through, and then you're going to have your own individual one or group one. Middle, which is, the problem, why anyone should care. It's community members, clinicians, and researchers may not share a common language. So you start at the top. Why is that a problem? Let's get everyone on the same page. Why, shout it out. Why is that a problem that we're not speaking the same language?
You won't be able to get the message across.
Won't get the message across. What else? Why is this a problem?
Hierarchy.
Confusion.
What, say it again?
Causes confusion.
Causes confusion, absolutely.
Hierarchy, there's a level of hierarchy to the charting.
Ooh, that's an excellent one. I like that. Yes, the hierarchy, yes. Yeah, go
You
ahead.
can't come to agreement without understanding.
Absolutely. And then everyone's talking over each other and not listening, and then it's just not productive, right?
And everybody might not have the same goal.
Might not have the same goal, absolutely. And again, then you're just not talking to one another. No one's really listening. We have a problem here. Okay, so if you identify this is a problem, we're not speaking the same language, these are some of the reasons why it's a problem, how can you fix that? That's when you go down to the how. How would you fix that?
if you're encountering this and think of your personal experiences or,
I would maybe kind of, I don't know, like some sort of glossary, kind of like, here's the word I use for this definition, and
like
here's the
that.
word your like background field uses. Because I see that a lot, like people use different words to mean that mean the same thing, but not even realize.
I like that. I like that level setting. And I think also providing the psychological safety to be like, I don't know what you just said.
Right.
Because, my background, I'm a nurse and a pediatric nurse. Sorry, not in Nemours, Rob. And I would see all the time, these young residents come in, they speak way up here, and the parents are like, oh.
Yeah.
And then like I'm staring, I'm watching, and they're like, good, you got that? And then they walk away. And then I ask parents, did you get that? They're like, no. What did they do? And I was teasing around, I was like, why? Like I often am a Rosetta Stone. But I think there's like your point to the hierarchy, but also that safety of saying, what did you just say? Like, what did you mean there? And I think that's like part of like the solutions around it. What else? People are not speaking the same language. Go ahead.
I had an intern for the first time this summer through Inbree, and they provided a compact for the internship, and that was so helpful because it was very set in stone, and it addressed a lot of issues. And I think we would have done fine having a conversation, but it just took off the pressure of having to have that conversation.
I like that.
Like it told us exactly how to have the conversation.
No, I think that's helpful, like a template or a blueprint or something, like you're saying, take that pressure off, and it's not like, oh, it's such a typical conversation.
Yeah.
No, excellent. That's another fantastic way. How else? Go ahead.
Like before you can have like common definitions, you have to invite everyone to the table to share their definitions.
Yeah.
So, and that goes like to like the listening that we've been hearing about today. So whether it's like some kind of community forum or just asking people, but making sure that it's representative of all the people that you're trying to have the common language with, because then that way they all have input in what that, common framing is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so important. Yeah, go ahead. Claire.
And sort of piggyback off of what you said, like, if we're trying to bring everyone to the table, and we want to be able to create a psychologically safe place for people to be asking questions, we should be establishing early on those like ground rules as a team.
Excellent. Yeah.
Like saying like, hey, it's okay to ask if you
Right.
don't know, and that's the expectation that we want people to
Yeah.
do that.
When people say like, no question is a dumb question, want to hear
Yeah.
it all. Then you're like, okay, I'll put it out there. No, excellent. Yeah. Anything else that you think about the how to solve some of these problems? Because, it's a multimodal approach. Like it's not one thing that's going to cut through all this, but these kind of worksheets, and that's why like you have a blank one, please take it with you for your own working space. Because if you're like, oh my gosh, we're not talking, we're not connecting with one another, put this in front of somebody and say, you know what, let's talk through this. And it really does help just, again, provide that structure, but yet the creativity, flexibility, and really to bring other people's perspective into this. Be like, well, what do you think? What have been your experiences? So it's not like, oh, because I said this. It's really a nice invitation, these worksheets. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you found, like, if you, in your experience using this kind of exercise, that there's even initial disagreements on what the challenge itself is, or different perceptions on what the challenge is?
Yeah, so for this one, like we picked this, and that's why you have a blank one, so then you can agree on it. So depending on, the different work groups you may have, really talking about like, what is that challenge? Because you have to define it and put it in there. That's why it's in the middle, because it drives everything. But for this, just so everyone can kind of see how they work. But yeah, it should be a common, this is a pain point, or, this is what we're struggling with and we can't kind of overcome it. And because I teach classes in human-centered design, and I use a lot of these different types of worksheets. And what I see, if people are only talking about the problem and you have other people talking about the solution, they don't talk to one another. And they talk over each other. And you really, this is a way to get everyone, we are here. Let's start here. Let's figure this out. And then we can lockstep move to that solution.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I like a good worksheet, I like helpful tools. For me, it's, I don't know, I'm also a teacher too. So it helps out. But everyone should have a blank one. So within your groups, I'll give you a few minutes, pick what it, pick a common challenge statement and then work through it. Like, why is this such a problem? And then figure out some solutions to overcome that, or, put a dent in making that a little bit better. So I'll give you a few minutes.
So our challenge statement was determining a common goal of this assignment that has brought some confusion.
We weren't
And so-
sure about what the challenge statement meant or
Right.
what you meant.
Okay,
And so why? Because the task was not clear to us.
okay.
Okay. We
Hey,
needed
I'm
more
okay with that.
clarity. And because we had a challenge on asking and agreeing for clarity.
Okay,
Okay. So how are we gonna fix this, right? We're gonna ask for clarity. We're gonna be assertive.
yeah,
We're gonna communicate with the facilitator or stakeholders.
yeah.
We're gonna develop a safe space that is inclusive to exploring ideas.
Love it.
We're gonna be open to sharing and listen.
Glad you said that. Thank you so much.
You're
In your
welcome.
defense, you did give us one, example. But I think we were all like, wait, what?
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, it is helpful to have the feedback and for everyone to hear that too. Absolutely. So
Well,
thank
and
you.
the fact that we thought about getting clarity is what brought the problem. That is how we were like, well, maybe we should ask. And then someone said, no, we don't need to ask.
That was
So-
me.
So
So
that is
she's like, let's ask. And I'm like, no, that's our problem.
that is how we got to.
Hey,
the
all right.
challenge statement.
So she was trying to be assertive and I shut her down completely.
But that's how things happen, right?
That is, that's real
And
life.
we're gonna do good work all of that.
Very good. Well, thank you. Who wants to go next? Are you go? Okay. Tell me your name.
My name is Roxanne, last name is Williams. I am an outreach coordinator.
So nice, so that worked out.
Oh, you guys are good.
No,
Oh, okay.
different health thing, but
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Both
Wow.
were there.
The
So I
outreach.
guess this is our challenge.
Yeah, very quickly, we found we have the same challenge statement.
Okay, I
And
like
it's
it.
not necessarily like a research and organization issue. It's more like the people, us and the
Okay.
people we work with.
Okay.
So in as a community outreach coordinator for University of Delaware, for Alzheimer's and dementia, the population that I'm looking to get is African American. And in that history, there's been a lot of stories about how people are used for testing and things like that. So to reassure
Actual real events.
Right?
Yeah.
Based on real events.
to reassure them that this is not what's gonna happen. Once they hear from me, okay, that's all, this is all that's involved, is a phone call. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that. But prior to that, no, I want nothing to do with no testing, no research. I don't care what you're giving me. And mine involves some monitoring, so I win them over.
Okay.
Win them over.
And mine's very similar, and I'm a former smoker, so this is really helpful.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I go into the community and I before I get, a conversation going and like build any kind of rapport, they're very standoffish when I want to ask about if they know about the program, if they've ever tried to quit, or anything about smoking, because they have been pretty much gaslit their whole entire career of smoking into thinking it's you should just be able to stop. Just put it down. If you really wanted to, you would. You have to really want to, and it's just so much more complicated than that. So it's kind of traumatizing because they know it can kill them at the same time as they feel like they can't get out of it, and then like people just shame them. So it becomes like a big old mess, and there's a lot of distrust when talking about that with people if they're not sure that they're safe people. So yeah, we pretty much said like the attitudes and beliefs around with the populations we work with, because I'm going to also be like any under-resourced or any population that has any sort of disparity.
Or
Health-related
gaslighting,
disparities. Oh my God.
Or being
yes,
gaslit.
Yes. So yeah, we said attitudes and beliefs around some of the things, which some are valid and true and based on real experiences. But then some maybe we need to educate around because maybe they don't know how complicated the problem is. And maybe if they did, they would know what to do. So, yeah.
And then you're saying have that empathy.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I sort of learned from doing it for the last 2 years to go to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Where the population is, and they're not really expecting to see me there, but then when they see me and they see the setup, it's like, oh, okay. Let me see what they doing, what she doing here.
Gosh, she's probably like,
Mhm.
she's the real deal. She came to me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
So
yeah,
absolutely, you're showing up for them.
and it's worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
That's fun. Who wants to go next? All right, I'm back there. What's your name?
My name's Katrina.
Hi, Katrina. That's my mom's name too. It is.
All right, it's a nice name. The challenge statement that we had was just about like not having funding or enough funding for a project.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And as far as the why that's a problem, I mean, you can't help the people that you want to help, through your project. It's hard to get the project off the ground without the resources for the infrastructure. You feel kind of undervalued and not respected, with this idea that you really want to put forth. And it limits the ideas and innovation that can come from your group. And then as far as like how to address this challenge, diversifying your funding sources. So maybe that pot that you were trying to go for isn't the one, but there are many other ones that you can look at if you just be creative and search. You can check if there's some institutional support, if you're within a particular institution that has some resources. And then something I was thinking, it was like, what if folks just volunteer their time to get something off the ground? And then maybe it'll get to a point where it is getting resources. It's just hard to think of that being kind of realistic, given all the demands that we have on our time, but it was just something thinking about the body.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And really, laying that groundwork of, this is really challenging and identifying where there could be potential solutions and diversification of those solutions as well. Oh, that was excellent. Thank you so much. Let's go next. I think we have 2 left. Don't fight it out.
We just came, we actually spent a lot of time getting to know each other.
Oh, okay.
And,
You're identifying a common.
and we,
Okay, well then you can share that. How about that?
yes, and what we identified was having issues for a senior investigator working in a community-based participatory research and understanding what their community wanted. So like having that gap where the investigator does not understand their community and how making those mistakes and not understanding the community that they work for or they work towards creates this schism. This is like complete break in communication. So define community, understand community, ask for community input, make them part of your research and also part of your collaborator. They're your peers. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that, I mean, for, off the top of your head and just having the challenge statement, that was very good. Thank you for sharing that. Next time we'll get the full thing. All right.
So I spent a lot of time asking about like different mentor models.
Okay.
So I was
Yeah.
kind of asking their experience with mentoring people and Claire's experience. And so we kind of just talked about that and kind of shared different ideas around mentoring itself. Like that is the problem, I guess, like how to train people to mentor.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you're running like a program, like a lot of us are, and just different barriers. to that.
Yeah, and it's important because if you don't have mentors that are appropriately trained or really have the skill set that you need and you're setting them loose, you run into these issues where there might be a Dr. Smith case example, for good or for ill, and we always want to assume good intentions, but these things do happen. So it's really important that you have like a certain established methodology when it comes to that. And so we were talking. So I think we kind of probably failed the actual like assignment.
That's okay. I mean, I promise you this is really.
I would just.
So maybe not quite so much. We have it there so that we were talking about the different kinds of mentoring resources and stuff.
No, I mean, like all that's important because I mean, these technically are supposed to be like longer, more of an activity. I mean, we're trying to do this in like 7 minutes. So I mean, this is, really like a little too fast, but more of that introduction and really just, again, a different tool, a tool in your toolbox for you to use, and you can adapt it to like whatever you need in your space. So you have something like this and you're like, I like it, but it needs to change. Change it up, whatever works for you.
I can imagine that starts conversations that wouldn't normally be started.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Had.
it's a nice invitation because not everyone is comfortable speaking up.
Right.
And this really is an invitation to, contribute, participate, be a part of it, have ownership in it. Because I think that's a big piece too. It's like, well, that one talks all the time. She can do all that. Like, no, have some ownership in it. So it's all good stuff. But thank you so much for participating in our mentorship workshop.